What's up, everyone? Welcome into DodgerHeads, presented by DodgerBlue.com. My name is Jeff Spiegel, joined today by Daniel Starkand. It is the last episode in our series of free agency primers, and rather than focusing on one of the big five free agents that the Dodgers have out of contract right now, we are focusing on the rest of the guys, the other 6 or 7, depending on how you created this list, guys who were Dodgers last season who are now free agents. As a quick rundown of that list, we've got Danny Duffy, Cole Hamels, Corey Knebel, Jimmy Nelson, Albert Pujols, Souza Jr., and Joe Kelly after he was bought out of the final year of his contract. So obviously with 5 headliners, most of the focus will be on them. But for the Dodgers front office, we know they like to build around depth. We know that they like to have an abundance of guys on the 40-man roster that they trust. And so you have to believe that guys on this list are just as significant in their minds as not just as significant, but it's not like these guys are just off of their radar completely. So let's just go in alphabetical order here by last name, which is what I've got. Danny Duffy is the first guy on this list. He'll be 33 in 2022. Obviously, this is not a popular guy in Dodger circles because they gave something up for him, and he literally never pitched for them. The flip side is 2021, he pitched for the Royals. He made 12 starts, 1 relief appearance, 2.51 ERA. So the FIP wasn't nearly as kind, 3.40, but still really, really good. This is a guy, if I remember right, who's a Los Angeles native, grew up a Dodgers fan, was really excited to be a Dodger. So Danny Duffy, do you see any future with him and the Dodgers?
Probably not. I think I honestly, I was pretty excited when the Dodgers went out and got him last year. You just said the numbers, like he was having a really good season. He's got really good stuff, but the guy just hasn't been able to stay on the field. And that wasn't just this past season. Yeah. That's been kind of a theme in recent years. Like you said, the Dodgers acquire him thinking they'll get some sort of contributions, whether it's as a back end starter or a reliever or whatever. He ends up not pitching for them at all, suffers a setback and gets shut down for the year. So I also like the Dodgers just signed Andrew Heaney to a 1-year, $8.5 million deal to kind of give their starting rotation some depth. I think that's kind of like, I feel like Duffy's probably going to sign a similar type of deal in free agency. Like I'd say he's a better pitcher than Andrew Heaney, but he also has durability concerns. So I'd say he's probably going to go for a 1-year type deal for kind of similar money. So I just don't see the Dodgers giving both of those guys 1 year, $8 million, considering all the other free agents they're going to be linked to or going to sign or try to sign at least. Like, I don't think you're just going to be handing out $8 million a piece to all these back of the rotation type guys. I do think depth is important, especially in the starting rotation. But I just don't really see Duffy coming back after not pitching down the stretch of 2021 when they kind of needed him.
Flexor was in his throwing arm, which is the reason that he never pitched. That's not what you want to hear. So it's interesting. In the Heaney one, like you said, do the Dodgers have more than one spot on their 40-man roster for the hybrid 5th starter / bullpen arm type guy? Again, Duffy,
who's also both lefties.
Yeah, so. Exactly. And they already have Urias, and if they re-sign Clayton Kershaw, that's another lefty. Like, do you want to just throw all lefties at is another interesting one. I just loved the stories. This is a kid, grew up in Goleta, born in Goleta, so local guy, loved being a Dodger. That was the thing where in the back of my mind, I was like, I think he's going to pitch for them at some point. I don't know what the market is. I mean, if the Dodgers could sign him for $4 million, depending on whether he's going to miss part of next season, would they do it? Would he be comfortable in a bullpen role, sort of a hybrid role? Because then the Dodgers would say, hey, we like having 8 starting pitchers and just seeing what happens with them. So anyways, we'll see. That's Danny Duffy. That's number 1. We won't go this long on all of them, I promise. Number 2 will be much quicker. It's a gentleman by the name of Cole Hamels. He will be 37 years old in 2022. He got paid $1 million to do absolutely nothing. So shout out to Cole Hamels.
Hey, excuse me. A bullpen.
That's correct. Apologies to Cole Hamels, to his family, to everybody involved with Cole Hamels. He did not do nothing. He threw a bullpen. He made $1 million. Over under 1% chance Cole Hamels is in the Dodgers organization in 2022.
I mean, I'd say over 1% if he's willing to play for free. Just be like, hey, you guys gave me $1 million last year. I'll play for free this year. I know I didn't contribute at all. But no, I don't see any scenario where he's back. I don't even know if he's going to pitch anymore. Like, he's getting older, dealing with another injury, of course. He's made all the money in the world. He had a big contract with the Phillies. So I think for him, it might be time to hang it up. I don't know, though. The Dodgers clearly saw something in him for them to sign him and give him $1 million. But I just don't see a scenario where he's healthy and honestly, like even like able to contribute
Yeah.
enough where you could warrant him being in the rotation. I don't think he'd be wanting to take
It
on a
felt like
bullpen
a
role either.
decision born out of desperation, which is not a situation the Dodgers are currently
Yeah,
in. So,
for
like you
sure.
said, I mean, look, if they wanted somebody, they
Sure.
would go get Duffy. They would not sign Cole Hamels. They would pony up to get Danny Duffy if they felt like they needed another starting pitcher. Next on this list, a guy that's maybe one of the more interesting names on here, which is Corey Knebel. Knebel's coming off of a season for the Dodgers in which he made 27 appearances, 4 starts, it should be noted. Just kidding. They were openers. He threw 25 and 2/3 innings, 2.45 ERA, a FIP under 3, expected ERA of 2.96, all very good. The strikeout per 9 of 10.52, the walks per 9 of 3.16, which was basically a career low dating back to 2015. Really, really good stuff from Corey Knebel. Health is the concern for him. He made 15 appearances in 2020 after missing all of 2019. Of course, he only made 27 appearances for the Dodger this year. We have a video up already talking about Kenley Jansen. You and I both think that Jansen would be gone. Joe Kelly's another name we're going to mention here. How do you see the Dodgers filling out their bullpen with Knebel or Joe Kelly, those types of names that might be options for them?
Yeah, I mean, I personally would love to see Knable back. Like if they don't re-sign Kenley and Kelly, I think he was really good. Obviously, you mentioned the injury history, and
Yeah.
it's definitely significant. He's barely pitched, but when he has pitched, he's been really good. With that being said, though, I just think some other teams probably going to pay him a little more. Like someone will look at the production he gave when he was on the mound, and it
Yeah.
was really good production. I don't know if he'll be getting closer money out there, but I definitely think he'll be out of the Dodgers' price range. I think maybe there could be a team that might give him an opportunity to close out games, and I know that means something to relievers just because if he goes and signs a 1-year deal to be a closer of the Detroit Tigers or something and has a really good
Yeah.
year, then I feel like he's in a better position to make more money after that. Just people knowing that he's a closer, he's a former closer, had a lot of success in that role. So I don't know. I don't know if that's a priority for him or not. I know for some guys it is. But to me, I just think he's probably going to be outside the Dodgers price range. I think there's other options out there that will be cheaper, and we know, that this organization could basically
Yeah.
find bullpen talent out of nowhere. They've done it time and time again. So I think they'll be looking for the next Corey Knable as
Yeah.
opposed to the
To
current
me,
one.
when I look at it, I mean, we've talked on previous shows, the Dodger bullpen, even if Kenley Jansen leaves, is in a pretty good spot. You've got Trinan, you've got Gratterall, you've got Bickford, you've got Vesia, you've got Tommy Kahnle coming back, you've got Brule, you've got Evan Phillips. They have a bunch of guys that you feel fairly confident in. And so for me, I think it comes down to Kelly and Knable. It feels like one of those two. Like, I think of Jansen, Kelly, and Knable. I think one of those three is back. For me, I think Joe Kelly's the most likely. I think he fits in with the Dodgers. And again, this is like the Jansen conversation. I can't believe I'm saying this. A year ago, I would have like slapped myself in the face if I heard myself saying, hey, you know what? Maybe we should re-sign Joe Kelly. But the Dodgers bought out Joe Kelly. He is now a free agent. There are reports that he is negotiating with the Dodgers. Could they sign him somewhere in that $6 to $8 million a year range for maybe 2 or 3 seasons? If you had to choose at the different price points, I would imagine Kelly's maybe slightly above Corey Knable's price point. Maybe Knable's in the $6 million range, and maybe Kelly's in the $8 million range. Jansen, like we said, probably in the $18 million range. Of those three, which do you like the most? Kelly coming off of a year, 48 appearances, 44 innings, 2.86 ERA, similar strikeout per 9 to Knable, similar walks per 9 to Knable. Of course, we know the strand rate with him was what was sort of the special sauce. So if you were the Dodgers and you wanted to sign one of those three guys at different price points, who would you take?
I'd
Okay.
probably say Knable just because I think he has the highest upside. Like we saw him come back after getting Tommy John this year, and I know he didn't pitch a whole lot, but he was really good right away. And I just think like he's going into a healthy offseason now. I think that'll only do him good. I just think he could be better than Joe Kelly, like if he's able to stay healthy. And I know he's probably more of an injury concern, although Kelly is
Yeah.
dealing with an injury of his own right now as well. So I'd lean slightly towards Knable just because I think he provides a little more upside. But the
Yeah.
health risk is there. But just because Kelly's hurt too,
Yeah.
that's why I lean Knable. Like let's say Kelly had finished out the year healthy, coming off a great year, then I'd probably lean him. But the fact that he's also injured right now,
Yeah.
Knable has the injury risk, but is healthy going into the offseason.
Yeah, the Kelly
I'd lean
piece is
Knable.
super bizarre, and I'm not trying to call anybody out. The LA Times posted a story that then got aggregated multiple places saying that Joe Kelly would not be available for spring training next season. Well, when you clicked on the link back to the LA Times story, they edited out of the story whatever they had in there that indicated that he would not be ready. That is no longer in the Jorge Castillo piece. So I don't know if that means that it was sort of mistyped. There's no editor's note saying we corrected this story, nothing. So I just am kind of leaving the Joe Kelly piece alone. The fact that they took it out leads me to believe that maybe he is going to be healthy and that they felt like, oh, shoot, a lot of people misinterpreted, let's change. But I don't know. For me, I would pick Kelly out of that group, again, which is mind-blowing to me that I would say that. But here we are.
That's great.
I just like his versatility, his willingness to pitch in any situation. Knable, very similar. But I think Kelly is going to give you pretty similar contributions to maybe what a Kenley Jansen would, but at a much lower cost. And maybe, I don't know, his stuff's just nasty. The high velocity stuff, the nasty movement stuff, it plays off really well. Next on the list, Jimmy Nelson. This will be a short one. This was news to both of us. He underwent Tommy John surgery in August. He will miss the entire season. He's going into his age 33 year. Whether or not he makes a return to baseball to be determined. Another guy that's dealt with a ton of injury stuff. You mentioned to me, is there a chance that they sign him to one of these, 2-year deals worth $4 million to rehab for 1 year and then have him the next year? To me, it seems unlikely just because of all the injury history that you're now wanting him to come back from this again. Yeah. That feels steep. It feels like you could just wait a year, and then if you wanted to give him $2 million, you could. I mean, what do you think about Jimmy Nelson?
I mean, I like Jimmy Nelson, the pitcher, a lot. I think he was downright nasty this year, but there's no ignoring the injuries. It's been just about every year for the past 4 or 5 years, and this past year, like you said, it's Tommy John. And I don't know if it's a full Tommy John, a year and a half rehab, or maybe since he underwent the surgery in August, maybe it's a year thing and he could be back by next August. And if it's a bullpen role, there's not quite as much of a buildup. So then you'd be able to have him ready for the postseason. Maybe that's possible. I'm not really sure. I think I'd probably have to, before I could say if they should re-sign him or not, I'd probably have to know more about the medicals there. Is this a full-on Tommy John year and a half rehab? He's definitely not pitching until 2023. I'd probably stay away if that's the case. But if there's a chance that he could come back at the end of next year, I think there's upside there for him. Potentially adding that guy to your bullpen late in the season, that'd be a huge addition. So I definitely would do a 2-year, $4 million deal. I think the Dodgers have kind of shown a little bit of loyalty to this guy. They re-signed him the last 2 years despite all the injuries. I feel like he enjoyed his time here. I think in the middle of last season, he probably would have said I want to go back to being a starter next year. I had this great season as a reliever. I proved I could stay healthy. Let me go back to starting, because that's what he did throughout his whole career. But then obviously when he doesn't stay healthy and has another arm issue, that's completely out the window. I don't think there's any potential for that guy to start when he comes back. So I would love to bring him back on a 2-year deal and let him rehab. But I also understand there's a lot of other moves to be made, and I don't know if they really can. I think they'd rather have their money elsewhere.
Yeah,
so I'm
and
not
40-man
really
roster spots is another thing. Obviously, a guy like Nelson would go on the 60-day IL, but the Dodgers have to protect some guys from the Rule 5 draft. We know they're usually deep as a farm system, so keeping in mind that there isn't an unlimited amount of 40-man roster spots as well. Okay, 2 more names on this list, one that will be quick and one that will not. The quick one we'll just throw out there really quick. Steven Souza Jr. I could see him back in a minor league role. I don't think there's any chance he is a major league role. I don't think it would be a 40-man roster situation, at least not to begin the year. Any disagreement from you?
I agree 100%. If we come down to a scenario where Steven Souza is battling for a bench job, or we're in next September, October, and injuries hit again, and you're counting on Steven Souza Jr. in a bench role, then I'd say you got problems. Let's go after maybe some younger guys.
Well, speaking of younger guys, the last free agent on this list is Albert Pujols, who is a very young, 41 years old, will turn 42 in January. He's coming off a year with the Dodgers. In his time with the Dodgers, 85 games. He hit .254, OPS of about 760. Of course, we know he mashed left-handed pitching. He did hit 12 home runs for the Dodgers in his time with them. This feels like the type, as long as he's willing to have a platoon role. And if basically he's like, hey, I'm up for the exact same role I had last year, maybe some more playing time, because you could be the DH. So basically, anytime a lefty is on the mound, Albert Pujols is definitely in the lineup. Maybe occasionally at first base, but more likely a designated hitter. They give him a chance to win. He seems to fit in great in the clubhouse. Everybody loves him. To me, if he's willing to take on that role, this feels like a no-brainer. The question is whether or not he wants that role.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I also think we obviously have to see if the universal DH does come, which I think everyone's kind of under the impression that it's gonna. And if it does, I definitely think there's a high likelihood of Pujols returning. That would open up some more at-bats for him. Like you said, the Dodgers, he might not get as much playing time on the Dodgers as other places, but it also gives him a chance to win. They also know, like, honestly, like playing every day when you're 41, 42 years old is probably not the best thing in the world. Like if he wants to stay healthy, I think like a platoon role or like a bench role is definitely better for him. I know he loved his time in LA. I know everyone in LA loved him. Like it seemed like a perfect match. He actually came in and filled like a valuable role for this team. Like he hit left-handed pitching really well, which was a big struggle for the team to start the season. So I definitely think he's still got some in the tank as far as swinging the bat goes. I know as far as in the field and on the base pass, like no one is really counting on much out of him there. But if there is a universal DH, that would probably get him off the field a little more. Like you could start him as a DH or whatever. So I definitely think it's something that there's mutual interest there. I think obviously things might change if there's no universal DH. I could see him wanting to go to the American League if that's the case, just so he could DH more, get more at bats. I know he's coming up on 700 home runs here. He definitely, I don't know if he'd get it this season, but if he comes out and has another 15 home run season, then he'd be pretty close. So he's definitely gonna want to get some at bats if he can, and I think the Dodgers would be able to, to provide him that against left-handed pitching if there is a universal DH.
It feels like, obviously he spent all that time with the Angels. His family is local. That was a big deal to him. It feels like the type of thing where it's either the Dodgers or maybe the Cardinals. He has said repeatedly he wants to continue playing. Like you said, I mean, he still probably thinks of himself as an everyday role. Would he really want that if it was given to him? Hey, we want you to go play first base 140 times for a team that like has no shot of competing. I could see him doing the Yadier Molina, Adam Wainwright, St. Louis Cardinals reunion tour if there's a DH there as well. But as you said, 21 home runs away from 700, probably something he's aspiring to get to. He showed he could still hit. The Dodgers have gone through the depth bench, and realized that there's nothing there, that those guys couldn't produce. Pujols came in and filled that need. So I definitely think some interest. So real quick, let's make some predictions. We'll go through this list one by one, and you tell me yes or no whether or not you think this player is back with the Dodgers in 2022. I will start first. Danny Duffy. I actually am going to say yes. I don't know how it works. I don't know what the numbers look like or where he fits, but I think Danny Duffy's a Dodger in 2022. Yes or no for you?
I'll say no, but if they do resign him, I'd be happy about it.
Corey Knebel.
No.
Okay, no for me as well. Joe Kelly is a yes for me. Jimmy Nelson,
say yes
no for
Joe
me
as well.
Okay, and
I'll
Albert
say yes
Pujols
for
is
Jimmy.
a yes for me. Steven Souza Jr. is a yes for you and a no for me, right?
It's an absolute yes, no-brainer. Give the guy $30 million.
Well, there you go. Like I said, I don't know how all these things are going to shake out. It's hard to make these predictions in a vacuum. The Dodgers have signed one guy already, Andrew Heaney. Daniel and I both agree as it comes to the big names. We think Kershaw's back. We think Scherzer is back. And we think Chris Taylor is back as well, that they would let Corey Seager and Kenley Jansen go. Not reluctantly, they would let those guys go, but we'll see. So let us know what you think in the comments. Again, they've got a lot of names that were on the roster last year that won't be on the roster next year. Let us know what you think. As always, check out DodgerBlue.com for the latest. We'll have the latest updates for you, Dodger Blue 1958 on social media, and of course right here, Dodger Blue 1958 on YouTube. Click subscribe. Ring the notification bell. We really appreciate it. That's Daniel Starkand. My name's Jeff Spiegel. Enjoy the offseason, and we'll see you soon.
The best team holding a trophy high in the air. The Los Angeles Dodgers, champions of the baseball world.